Welcome to the show, guys. We are going to delve into the topic of games of the Kickstarter. Mostly we'll be covering the games that have made the news so far with Kickstarter. Games like Mighty No. 9 and such. And even the big reveal of Sony diving into the Kickstarter gig. And maybe we'll look into if it's becoming a new trend for the industry or if it's just another gimmick. And finally, we will cover what neglected franchise would we want to come on board to the Kickstarter reboot. Alright guys, so yeah, how's everyone doing today? Everybody cool?
Excellent.
Good to hear, good to hear. Funny note, I wanted to kind of mention it real quick. I got to go to the Nintendo event this past weekend. It was pretty nuts, I ain't gonna lie. I got to try Super Mario Maker, and in the process of waiting in line, I got to try Triforce Heroes with 2 other people.
Nice. How was that?
It was really good. It was a really good experience. Triforce Heroes actually ran a lot smoother than I expected. I did not expect it to run so damn smooth. It was really fun. The only shame was I played with really crappy people. My niece and nephew. They were so bad. They were so bad. If I had a better source of people, we probably would actually beat the boss. But just the fact that you really had to use all 3 people in a certain way, like that. You know how they were showing off that totem kind of thing going on, taking advantage of the totem ability, stacking links on top of each other. That's going to be a really big thing for the game, it looks like so far. So, got to try that. Waited about an hour and a half to get my hands on Super Mario Maker. Amazing game. I thought I was just going to, play it a little bit, maybe pick it up later on. I might day one that.
After watching the Nintendo World Championship stages, I think I'm definitely throwing that one on the day one.
They are actually going to add those stages into the mix too, so I think that's a really good idea, because I won't be more of a creator. I will be more of playing other people's creations, because I just don't have a creative bone in my body when it comes to making that kind of shit put together, level makers and stuff. I really don't give a crap about it.
I can't wait to delve into both ends of it. I'm really looking forward to the creation aspect. And I definitely see a little challenge down the road for a future podcast where we try to beat each other's levels.
That very well could happen. I might make the easiest level possible. Actually, funny story to that. So my niece really sucks at it. She's just really bad. So I told the Nintendo rep, please give her anything really easy, please. Gave her a level that was somewhat difficult. I was like, no, it has to be easier than that. He had a level called Automatic Mario, version 4 to be specific. You literally don't have to move the controller or move your character whatsoever. As soon as you land in, you get plopped in and going through a bunch of different sequences till you get to the end of the level. I was like, this is the greatest level ever. We're just gonna keep it this way. But yeah, it was a really good experience. I even got you guys some special gifts that we may be able to show off later on. And even the Nintendo rep was really cool with me. He was around my age. He threw in a little something else extra for me.
A little something else extra.
Oh, well.
Dude, so.
In the back room.
Get your mind out of the gutter. Oh, and new format today, just to throw that out there. So if you guys don't know already, my name is Nick. And you, Greg? Oh, well, I just introduced... That's Greg, and that's Mike. Excellent, excellent. But if that's about it, then let's go ahead and kick it off on. Let's get into the main topic. So Kickstarter, guys. Kickstarter is big. When I first started seeing Kickstarter, it was usually for a lot of technology. Nobody really diving into the games. Can any of you recall who was the first major person to kick off the Kickstarter trend?
With games or just in general?
With games.
Okay.
Not major. The first time I started seeing games on Kickstarter was usually people trying to come up with indie titles, or even like a Star Trek type spin-off series, but Nothing. I can't remember I think Mighty Number 9 was the first time I saw like a major developer, like someone I had heard of, doing a Kickstarter.
That is correct. That is the first one. But you were right. Most of the ones that started were usually like indie games. A lot of the times, actually, yeah, the majority of them were indie games. Only until that particular time, which I believe was summer of 2013. That's when we started to see games like that, like Mighty Number 9.
I think it's just because they blew away the expectations of what they thought they were going to pull in money-wise.
Oh yeah, they get funded like within I was gonna say hours. Now we'll get into that soon, but it would take like people that are making like real stretch goals, like not even stretch goals, like initial goals, are making it within days. Sometimes with these some of these games that we've seen lately, within hours. It's unreal. I think it's okay like for that to happen. So Mighty Number 9, do you guys have any like general interest in it, or?
Yep, I've already got it pre-ordered.
Whoa, did you back it is the question, or did you wait until you saw a little more footage of what is to come of it?
I waited until after E3.
And what about you, Mike? Did you?
I didn't back it. I missed the opportunity to get in on that, but I'm definitely excited for it as a huge Mega Man fan.
I saw the opportunity and I was just like, well, you know, it's okay, but you know, I didn't want to get into it yet, so I had to see what the deal was with it.
Exactly, like I heard about it and I thought it was a cool idea, and I was like, oh, that's the dude who did Mega Man, but kind of the whole Kickstarter thing really didn't I didn't really grasp the whole concept of just how cool and how big it could be to make a game on there, like totally independent of a major like studio or developer, until more recently.
Yeah, and he had a nice little zing on Capcom. I don't know if you realize like the name of this studio, Concept. You are a clever guy. Yeah, so I thought that was very interesting. He definitely started a trend, like as far as like starting, like and I've made a mention of this last week. We're seeing developers of like treasured franchises of our time in the past finally starting now, and like it's almost letting us relive it, but with with today's graphics. So, you know, first one is Mighty Number 9. I think the next big one was Bloodstain. Bloodstain was huge. I mean,
before that, Project Cars.
Project Cars. Can you give me a little more info on Project Cars? I didn't pay attention to it too much.
It's a big car racing sim. Was initially just coming out on Steam, but now I think it's on all consoles. But that's a good representation of a game that didn't really live up to all the hype from the Kickstarter. They promised so many things, but apparently the finished product just wasn't that great. And then within a month of the game dropping on Steam, they've already opened up the Kickstarter for the sequel.
No way. So I wonder if you think they would improve on what they have going on, or if it's just going to be another flop. I guess it would be up to them, right?
Well, they're obviously saying they're still going to work on it, which, I mean, that's what they're supposed to say. I mean, it seems crazy just having the Kickstarter come out so soon after, but then you got to think too, it's not like these games are made overnight. It takes a few years, so if they're just laying the groundwork now, it could still be 4 years down the road.
Good deal. And if there's is there anything else that I may have missed? Because
well, there is the ukulele. I mean, that I'm not sure. I know they had a Kickstarter for that, the Banjo and Kazooie like successor.
Oh yeah, man, that totally got overshadowed when Bloodstain got in, because it was like pretty close to as far as like when those projects were initiated. So it piqued my interest, because some of us, actually, he's not on tonight, but some of us aren't really into the 3D platformer collectathons, but there's a certain nostalgic feel to it, so I'm kind of into them. So
I'm excited. I really enjoyed Banjo and Kazooie. I thought it was a great game.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been told to relax. Apparently, I'm really hyped. But I'm hyped. I'm hyped about this Kickstarter. Come on. What do you mean? I can't slow down now. But yeah, I kind of missed the boat on that because I think they had something special going on with it, where if you backed it, it got you into some kind of it locked you in for the season pass, I believe. So I guess they're getting on that boat too.
Well, and I think too the success of that campaign is kind of, I think I was reading an article, they said it almost even led a little bit into the rare collection getting made. So they're these Kickstarter campaigns are having effects outside of just the title they're building. It's affecting the greater gaming industry.
Yeah, good point. And it's really what it depends on what they want to do for it, what if they will need to revisit in the future, because you got to think about sequels as well. Maybe they do well enough to where they make enough money to be able to produce a sequel on their own, or will they dive back into Kickstarter? That's the real question right there.
I figured they'd go back to Kickstarter because it's less initial overhead. You can just get the gaming public to basically fund your startup costs and make your profit margin that much higher.
Agreed. And so with that being said, do we think this will be a new trend for the industry, or is it just a gimmick?
I think it's going to keep going. I think one thing that's kind of interesting that I've noticed is, or at least that caught me off guard about it, was people are seem more excited about the name of the developer than they do necessarily about the character. You think Mega Man's might be the more beloved character, but people are more excited for a game with the same developer, even if it has a different name. So we see more and more major developers leaving big companies. Kojima just left, so maybe he branches out, tries his own.
Oh yeah, well, it totally killed my my pick for the night as far as what we can see in the future. I totally see a Metal Gear coming out in the next foreseeable future, maybe in the next 4 to 5 years, considering how long it takes to make that game. So, and it's I believe it could be both. I believe that it could be a new trend, and it does have a gimmick to it. That now, when we say gimmicks, usually that could be, you want to think that that isn't good, but it depends, because it's developing a reputation right now as far as games coming to Kickstarter. What it is it's gauging interest. It's not even about making the game, because if we bring up the next game, which is Shenmue 3, which got announced at E3, the Kickstarter got counted down at E3. That was huge. You had all gaming eyes on that stage, or at least the majority of them. And for seeing that, that's just major exposure, which made it it was no surprise that it was funded within hours. Mm-hmm. It probably faster than, I believe it holds the record for fastest.
It does. It broke the record for fastest one to beat its goal. Which
is crazy, because I thought, Bloodstained was kind of holding that title because it was about $500,000 within 4 hours. This was 2 million, and it got it in a fraction of that.
It was just over an hour, I think.
My goodness. And somebody bought up that top tier one too really quick. Mm-hmm. Must have been a developer or somebody that just really had 10,000 to throw out. But if I had 10,000 to throw out too, I'd totally cop that Rio jacket.
Well, I think also just Sony including it in that press conference kind of legitimized the whole trend. This is now a legitimate way to get a game built. It's a legitimate way to gauge interest. I think the one gimmicky aspect of it is if you don't have that AAA name title, or just that cult following with the title or the developer, it's probably not gonna get your game made. If just the three of us came up with a game right now, we're not gonna hit 2 million, no matter how cool the idea is. You need that name or recognition behind it.
Yeah, you need the audience, you need the following, and that's what it's gonna be about. Now, will we say that every game that makes it there will be a success? Absolutely not. I mean, I don't want to jinx any of these big name games that are coming out onto Kickstarter, but you know, one of them is not gonna. All of them are not gonna be top notch. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. But who knows? Maybe they all can be, because they are not working with a publisher. They're not getting rushed. Their deadlines will be met when they feel it will be met. Like see, if it was under like Capcom or any other company, not to dog Capcom, but usually you have publishers rushing these developers, that therefore making a buggy game that they'll end up having to patch later. So that could be a different case, I mean, going on these days. But yeah, so as far as like, alright, so we discussed like if the new trend of it and how it's a gimmick, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's gonna be great. Like, it's gonna come out, it's gonna be really strong. So, especially for all these games so far as like mainstream games making it to this particular platform. Now, if that's the case, what are some of the neglected franchises that we would love to see get a Kickstarter reboot? I'll kick it off with you, Greg.
Well, Mike and I were actually talking about this earlier. The two on my mind, or the two that I thought of right off the bat, were Earthworm Jim and Crazy Taxi.
Man, Earthworm Jim, why do you want to see that come back?
That was a fun game, man. Did you not play it?
That game was amazing.
The animation was top notch, and I'm surprised you picked Crazy Taxi too. Is some of that Dreamcast nostalgia catching up to you? I mean, you know, you saw Shenmue come out, so it's like, well, maybe more of these Dreamcast games could come out.
Well, no, that was a game I played quite a bit when I had my Dreamcast. Like, it was mostly that, Shenmue, and Sonic. So I would not mind seeing that in, you know, today's graphical prowess.
Can we Kickstarter for a good Sonic game? Oh my god. They're all so bad!
Earthworm Jim also had amazing level design. I was actually playing it last week, and those are multi-layered levels, and there were multiple ways to go about beating them. It was a really well-developed game, and not just, like, good-looking.
It was very silly, too. I mean, did you guys play the HD version? Like, they really prettied it up. Like, they really got it going. It was pretty crazy. Did you guys even check? You could check out the demo, I believe. Like, I downloaded it on the 360. Looked beautiful. Not to say that the retro graphics looked good. They looked fine, but they really cleaned it up.
Anything in HD is going to look prettier.
Without a doubt. What about you, Mike? Did you have any idea of what franchise you'd like to see come back?
Yeah, I'm going to dip into some JRPG territory, and the first one I'm going to throw out is I'd love to see a sequel to Suikoden, and I know I'm not alone on this. You know, Konami's kind of hinting at it. We've seen 2 Suikoden games get released, one of which today, Suikoden 3, which if you haven't played that game, download it off the PS Store. It's an amazing RPG. And the last one we had was on the PS2. It was Suikoden 5, and I would love to see that original team, the same director whose name I'm going to avoid saying so I don't dishonor it with my butchery. But you can Google it. He is amazing. Those are some of my favorite games of all time. And the second one is probably even more obscure. It's an old school Sega Saturn game called Dragon Force. And it's kind of a RPG strategy title, a little bit of like Dragon Warrior, or not Dragon Warriors, like Kessen meets, I'm totally blanking on it, the other kind of medieval Japanese, like, Rumble game, almost, Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah, there we go, yeah.
Yeah, where you had, like, you could pick between all these different countries, and you moved around a map, and you led your army, and, you know, every time you conquered someone, you got a new general, and they all had their own special attacks and abilities. And what was really cool was the map moved in real time, so it wasn't turn-based. Like, you might be marching on another country, and then you see a couple armies marching on you, and you have to divert your plans. It was a real fun game. I don't know... Nothing's ever happened to it since, and I'd love to see it brought back.
Thank you for that. That was excellent. That I wouldn't. Man, let's get it going. Where you need to find this guy, contact him. We need to get. Maybe somebody's already pitched the idea to him. You never know. I mean, I'm telling you, like, there's a good chance we're gonna see like anything popping out of the we're gonna see a lot more games popping out of the woodworks. Like, it's gonna be crazy when it happens. Now, you kind of already mentioned it, but my pick would be Metal Gear. Like, I would love to see Kojima dive into it. He could totally he could probably get a little carried away as he does at times, but I think he can breathe some new life into, because whenever we think stealth, a lot of the times, and whenever I think stealth, I think Metal Gear. Like, I think of it, I don't think anybody else has really touched that particular genre, like as far as, or at least that particular mechanic as far as like having like a stealth action game going on like that. So I would totally like to see like a new universe. I mean, this would only encourage Kojima to go a little bit longer, because I don't know, was he planning on retiring? I have no clue. But I think he still has enough in the tank to keep going, and maybe he can bring back David Hayter. But he was the one that dropped David Hayter, I think. I don't know if it was his call or Konami's, but the fact that they did that, shame on them. But he got picked up by Bloodstained, and he'll be making some voice appearances in there, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, totally, we'd love to see a different version of Metal Gear.
My question to you would be, if you have a Konami game with the Metal Gear name in that universe, those characters, not with Kojima attached to it all, and then you have the Kojima game, something totally new with his name and his talent behind it. What do you pick? Do you go with the developer, or do you go with the name?
Man, that is... I think I'll have to go with the developer on this one. I mean, he's the one... The name can only take you so far, but when you're working, like, when you've worked with the man himself, like, you already have an idea of where his vision lies. And, that will... If Konami was still to keep going, even after Kojima, like, let's say... like, if they were still gonna be in the industry, like, they would totally capitalize on it. They would totally crank out another Metal Gear. It wouldn't be in his vision, but it would be pretty damn close to it, because we've kind of seen that already with Ninja Gaiden. So, and like, those games turned out okay, so they're not the best, but they have the right idea in mind. But it's all up to them, to be honest.
That's just what I find so interesting about it. We're bringing the developer more into the forefront as opposed to the brand. I mean, is your loyalty to the characters or to the actual person building the game? And that's really interesting aspect to this, in my opinion.
Yeah, because we're becoming more aware. Like, we're not kept in the... or not that we were ever, like, really kept in the dark, but they've really been able to broadcast, like, who they are, what they're able to do, and what they did to make this game as any particular game as popular as it is. So, I mean, with that in mind, sometimes there's a hybrid. Sometimes there's the publisher, and like, they are the publisher and developers, so they can go out on their own accord whenever they want. I believe Platinum lies on that status, no? Or I believe they're purely a developer.
I'm not sure.
Well,
I'd say we could get a Miyamoto title, but he already has his own designated Kickstarter called Nintendo.
He will always have that going until his days are numbered. And on that note, that kind of ends this particular topic for tonight. So if you're live in the audience, be sure to follow this page so you can see us weekly, or we try to be weekly. And if you are watching the video, go ahead and like the video, comment, let us know what you think, what you'd like to see next, and subscribe. Follow Gamers Life Guru on Twitter and Facebook, and you can feel free to follow me on Twitter as well. I am at NHARNAMJI. So,
you totally should have made it in Jumanji, but...
I absolutely will not. Will not.
Kickstarter to change his Twitter name to Jumanji.
And on that note, folks, may the Triforce be with you.